Welcome to the Chiro Money Show, where we help chiropractors make better financial decisions so they can build stability in their finances and a lifestyle that they love. We're your hosts, Chris Shield and Scott Campbell with Align Wealth.
Welcome in.
Yeah, welcome
End
back.
of the year. This is gonna be our last episode of the year. I don't think I told you this, Chris, but we're gonna take next week off.
We're taking next week off. Cool.
It's
Yeah.
Christmas.
You
We're
know
not
me.
gonna-
I'm always good for time off.
That's right. You are pretty good at that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thursday next week. Usually drop these on Thursdays, and next week is Thursday's Christmas. We'll take a
break.
week off. Take a breather.
Nice.
Today's episode, we thought, end of year, good time to maybe do a quick episode on kind of just looking at the last year, doing a bit of a reflection on what's happened and where we're headed.
Yeah, taking stock of what's happened over the last year and just kind of reflecting. I think this has been a habit of mine for years and years, and like I'm not sure exactly how or when it started, but I remember early days in marriage with Michelle, and we'd spend our time over Christmas. Like we'd have at least a day where go on a date or do something and reflect about the year, look at what went good, what didn't go so good, see if we made progress towards some of the goals we talked about, things like that. Check in on the finances. I think it's, I don't know, for me it's always felt like a natural time to do it. New year, new year, new you.
For sure. Feel the same way with my wife and I. On the same page. It's an exciting time of year to stop and reflect and see how the year went and talk about the year ahead. We have four really great points that we're going to dive into today. Before we do that, we wanted to kind of just share a little bit about kind of where we're at from a practice standpoint, Align Wealth, and kind of our year. I feel like this has been probably the most exciting year in practice for us. Just an incredible year overall. So many areas of growth. Probably the biggest one, we hit our kind of goal within the practice of bringing on 12 new incredible households into the practice this year. Some people might think like that's a pretty small amount of people that you're bringing on board, but we, based on how kind of thorough our process is for bringing in a new client, we only really had the capacity to bring on one, maybe two clients per month if we're going to do it the right way.
Yeah, exactly. It's low intentionally. That's kind of
low intentionally for
the
sure.
way. We're not a high volume operation here.
For sure.
It's built that way on purpose.
For sure. Yeah. And we have a similar goal for 2026.
Yeah.
12, maybe 16 new households in 26. A few of those are already kind of spoken for, so to speak, with some new prospective clients that we've been meeting with here this month. But looking forward to the year ahead. But yeah, I just feel very fortunate to work with so many amazing households. It's always exciting to bring on new clients and kind of develop that new relationship. Kind of almost feels like we're bringing them into the family, so to speak, because we do have such a tight relationship with, some of our clients now. We have, been working with them for 4 or 5 years, and you really start to feel like you developed as a little bit of a tribe. So I love that part of what we do.
Yeah, totally. I mean, one thing that sticks with me is I've heard you say this a few times. If we're not willing to invite them to Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner, it's like probably not the best fit. And it makes for a pretty cool practice when all of our clients are the type of people that we would invite for dinner. So,
absolutely. For sure.
And yeah, exciting to look ahead to 2026, and awesome that we already have a few incoming clients that way and capacity for a handful more. It's always exciting. Mm-hmm. The other big news and kind of exciting part for us this year was growing the team a bit. We welcomed Sophie, our Rockstar Client Service Associate. She joined us about 6 months ago, so about halfway through the year.
She makes our lives a lot easier. She's wonderful. She's
taken so much off our plates and really thrives in I know an area of my personal weakness, like that detail-oriented document processing, reviewing all those fields, make sure everything's filled out properly on forms and stuff like that. She really helps us a lot. And then otherwise, I think one of the highlights for me was getting out in the chiropractic community. We talked about this for a while now, and this year was finally the year where we committed and, took a step out and showed up. So we showed up at 4 conferences, mostly in the fall, right? Yep. Made for a busy season there in the fall, but it was really awesome to have some face-to-face conversations, just meet some chiropractors that we've known or had contact with over the years, be introduced to other chiropractors from some of our friends and clients. It's just been great to build some of those relationships, and yeah, exciting to have conferences to look forward to for next year and know that we're going to come back and be able to, reconnect with some of those people we met with.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And lastly, big area of growth, of course, the Chiro Money Show. We launched that a couple months ago. This is going to be episode 12. I guess the first and foremost, thank you to all of our listeners. I think I'm safe to say that we now have more than 3, right?
Up to 4?
We might be up to 4 or 5. I don't know exactly, but
is there a way to see that?
There is a way to see. Yeah, I think we got a few more listeners than that.
I don't look.
So we appreciate you tuning in and listening. I think if you are enjoying the show, the biggest area biggest thing you could do to support Chris and I in the show would be to share with someone that you know that could get some value from the show as well. You can expect in the new year to continue to, be in your podcast stream once a week, and look forward to potentially getting some guests on the show. One thing I mentioned last week that we'd love to get going here soon is a Q&A episode. So please go to the chiromoneyshow.ca. If you got some questions for Chris and I, you can drop them there. You can also leave them anonymously. Don't want to leave your name and email, that's fine too. And we'd love to answer your questions on a future episode. With that being all said, let's transition and get into some of our key points here.
All right, let's dive into the meat of it here. First point is that year-end reflection and alignment. Like kind of mentioned in the pre-show there, just seems a good season to reflect and look back, and maybe you set some personal goals this year. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you set some business goals. Maybe not. I think the thing that I want to point out here for all of us to keep in mind is we all go through seasons. And I know I've always been a goal setting person. It's come natural to me, probably through sport. It was we were taught to set goals for the year and, try to achieve those. And it is very tangible with sport, I think, in a lot of ways. That's always been part of my identity, and I've taken that in. But I've also gone through seasons where I just couldn't even put a goal on paper for a couple of years. Specifically, I think when the kids were really young, it was let's just survive this.
For sure.
That's the goal.
For sure.
Let's make sure our marriage survives. Let's make sure our sanity is still there. Let's make sure we do our best to love our kids and raise them well. Mm-hmm. So sometimes when we look back and reflect, and maybe if you didn't have goals, maybe you still had some major accomplishments. Because let's be real, sometimes having a great marriage, having good friends, being there for your kids is accomplishment in itself. For those that did set goals, it's, good chance to look back and say, did we accomplish them? And if not, is there something we can point to that maybe got in the way? How's that going to inform our outlook going forward? Are we going to try to refine that goal or adjust that going forward? What do we want that to look like for next year? A few other questions maybe we could ask ourselves is did we live the lifestyle we want to in the past year? If yes, if no, how could we have adjusted that? And is that really aligned with our values? So much of that lifestyle part comes down to spending and spending decisions. I think it's pretty easy to say, did those decisions align with our values and contribute to us or translate into us actually living an enjoyable life?
For sure.
Such a
big one for me. What are we doing this all for? At the end of the day, it's such a great point of the year to say, looking back, did 2025 roll out the way I was hoping it would from a lifestyle standpoint? Did I take in the experiences that I wanted to take in? Did I do what I wanted to do with the kids? Did I have a great, relationship with my partner? Yeah. Do I have good connections with my friends and family? If the answer is yes to most of those things, you're probably doing a lot of things right? Totally. No matter what the financial statement says. Hey, before we keep going, if you've been listening and thinking, I could really use some clarity around where I truly stand with my finances, we've got you covered. Take our free financial clarity assessment. It only takes about 5 minutes, and you'll get a personalized scorecard showing exactly where you're strong, where you might be spinning your wheels a little bit, and where to focus next. You can head over to alignwealth.ca or just hit the link in the show notes. All right, cool. Back to the show. All right, next point that I'll bring up is, I think end of year is my favorite time to kind of go to the spreadsheet, so to speak. You might not be a spreadsheet person, but I love bringing up the spreadsheet and kind of taking an annual kind of financial snapshot, and we call that your net worth statement, and getting that updated to, not from a judgment standpoint, but just from a data. Here's where I was 12 months ago from a financial standpoint, and here's where I am now. How have my assets grown? How have my liabilities changed? How's my net worth changed? Another few metrics that I like to kind of incorporate in that analysis is like, how much have I put towards saving and investing this year? I'd love to kind of get somewhat of an understanding of like, of that, how much have I saved and invested? What percentage of that makes up my kind of gross income for the year, to kind of get an idea what your savings rate is. I like to kind of check in just to kind of say from a pure data standpoint, like, here's where I was in, say, December of 2024, and here's where I stand today from a financial standpoint. Again, kind of to your first point, that first point of like, did I live the life that I wanted to live? That's always number one. And your growth from a net worth standpoint, some of that could have been, heavily kind of inflated and lifted up by how the markets have done in the last year or so. Don't get sometimes too hung up on the number, but it's a good time just to reflect, to say, how have I moved forward? Am I saving and investing what I want to be saving and investing? Could there be opportunity here in the year to put more focus on, hey, can I bump up my savings rate a little bit? Can I maybe make my savings and investing more automated than maybe a one-time kind of reactionary deposits to my investment accounts, things like that, right? It's just a great time to check in and see where you stand. And then even if you do this once a year, it's a great time of year to do it.
Totally agree. And I think the thing I've heard many times with an exercise like this is like, oh, I'm actually doing better than I thought I was. Because those small incremental things that we do throughout the year, maybe say you're enrolled in like an automated investing plan to your RSP or TFSA or something like that. Even if it's small, like $100 a month, it's like $100 a month doesn't sound like much, but then $1,200 at the end of the year sounds like a bit more. Okay, I guess it does add up. And I think it's a good reminder of like doing those small little things that we might not feel great about at the time, at the end of the year can have a big impact. And it's cool to see that when you take a step back and look at the data.
Makes me think too of some of our clients that are a little bit earlier career. Maybe they have some student loans still in place where they might not be saving and investing as much as they would like to be. Maybe they still are to some degree, but they got big payments going towards paying off like a student line of credit, for example, or their Alberta or federal loan for that matter. When you break it down into a net worth standpoint, so I've chunked away $25K off my debt. You don't kind of feel that over the course of the year. You just see the payment happening. But then when you look at it from a net worth standpoint and a net worth improvement standpoint, you're like, all right, I am making some progress that I should feel good about.
Yeah, totally. So good.
All right, let's move on to our next point.
Okay. This one is more about redefining what we mean by financial progress. And as much as obviously you guys can see and hear, Scott and I love to nerd out in data and spreadsheets, but sometimes, like we're saying, you got to keep it all in perspective. And at the end of the day, net worth is just a data point. It's not a judgment. A slower financial year or maybe a worse year than you had anticipated does not mean failure. There's a lot of things that are outside of our control that can impact our results. Also, there's a lot of non-financial indicators that can contribute to our well-being and financial security, stability, and just general like happiness in life. I think it's equally important to consider that. Maybe we've been able to lower our stress around money. Maybe we were able to automate some systems in our finances, and that created just a better environment for us where we didn't have to make so many decisions, and that decision fatigue and stress of financial decisions, like that lifted off our shoulders.
Yeah. Maybe better conversations with your spouse about money, less arguments about money, feel more confident and at ease about where you're at financially, even if you haven't had a tremendous year of net worth financial progress. Some other intangible things could be improving in a lot of ways, right? Maybe
it's even just recognizing that like this was the year you faced it head on and stopped avoiding it. And then, like I said earlier, seasons, we have to recognize the season we're in, and it's very, I say, uncommon for all areas of our life to flourish at the same time. Typically, there's an area or two that are having some pretty good growth and maybe other areas that are stagnant or maybe even going the opposite way, right? Maybe this season was a season where you just had to focus on your health and that was the top priority and you changed your health, or maybe it was your family. Maybe it was just focusing on your family. Maybe you had young kids, maybe aging parents, right? Who knows the situation? Everyone's in a unique situation, which is the key point here. So everyone's going to be different. Maybe it was business transition or just dealing with burnout in your business. I think the key message is that our progress is not linear. Rarely is it linear. And your net worth is not the same as your self-worth.
Great reminder.
The key point.
For sure. I was reading something the other day about how important the power of not making money being part of your identity is. There's so much more to someone's identity than their net worth or how much income they have or what car they drive or the clothes that they wear. The more you can focus on like, how do I want to be thought about from an identity standpoint, the less that's tied to money, usually the better.
Pretty sure that was in the Art of Spending.
That's right.
Morgan Housel.
We brought that book up a few times. You can tell what we're reading these days. Friend of the show, of course, Morgan. Shout out. All right. Last point that I wanted to touch on was kind of thinking about the year ahead, and something that I think Chris mentioned a few episodes back around. We don't plan to fail. We fail to the level of our systems. I think that's what you said, Chris, a few episodes back. Is that the right?
Something like that.
Is that the right quote? At the end of the day, when we think about moving forward into the new year, I think willpower and like the right intentions is not necessarily always enough to get you to where you want to go in 12 months from now, at least from a financial standpoint. Like what do you want to accomplish from a lifestyle standpoint this year? What kind of experiences or travel do you want to accomplish? But also having some ideas. Here's what I'd like to see accomplished from a business standpoint. Here are my, practice revenue goals. Here's what I'd like to set for my income now for the year. That can translate into the right systems and processes to determining how much you can save and invest, getting some things automated in your life. That's where if you might want to circle back, if you want to start talking more about systems again, circle back to our episodes on the Profit First system or our personal cash flow systems. Those types of processes and implementing those into your life can boost up the best intentions and motivations to have a successful year financially.
Huge. Cannot undervalue systems. And obviously it's a lot of upfront work, say with either Profit First or cash flow. There's a lot of upfront work that needs to be done. But once you get it in place, it becomes so easy to manage compared to kind of a traditional system of bank account.
Reactionary planning throughout the year.
Yeah.
Reactionary to how much you're going to pay yourself, reactionary how you're going to handle taxes, reactionary how much you're going to save and invest. You want to go on a vacation? How's that funded? All these little things that all these financial decisions that you have to make throughout the year without a plan or structure of how those decisions are made. That's where the end result can be so much more like, where am I going to end up being in 12 months from now? And if you keep that process happening over the decades, that's where it's like, you really don't know where you're going to end up in 10, 15, 20 years from now when you're starting to think about retirement. Anything else to add to that?
No.
Okay. Sounds good. Probably a good spot to wrap it then.
Yeah. Short and sweet. Finally, we got a 20-minute episode.
We're trying to keep it tight today. A few of our last ones have gone a little bit longer. So Thank you for tuning in and enjoying the show. Chris and I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas, and we will see you next time in the new year. All opinions expressed on the Chiro Money Show are for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. Nothing on this podcast should be considered financial, legal, accounting, or tax advice. Always consult your own team of licensed professionals before making decisions about your finances.